Yo, this is Paradox for OneSource.com, and I'm going to be bringing you a video article today. I'm going to continue the CT pistols for each map. I did Inferno and Dust 2 last time, and this time I'm going to do Train and Nuke. So we're going to do CT pistols on Train and Nuke. Now, if you saw my last article, I did 2 pistols per map. You know, I gave you an aggressive pistol and kind of a more standard pistol for each map, so you had 4 in total. For Train and Nuke, I'm gonna only give you 1 per map, but I'm gonna give you the most fundamentally correct pistol that you could possibly play, and I'm gonna have you focus on that instead of trying to run what I'd call, even call it gimmicks. You know, if you're gonna be playing aggressive on Train and Nuke on pistol, you're gonna give away that advantage that you have with range and all that I'm gonna explain. So I'm not gonna give you any ideas that that can be considered gimmicks, because they're not gonna work most of the time for you. You know, you're gonna play that luck factor, and that's not really what I want you to do, especially on pistol round, where this is one of the most important rounds in the game. So anyway, to get into the pistol on Train here, I'm gonna have you set up in a 2 inside and kind of a 3 outside setup, but that 3 outside setup is gonna be passive. And really the main thing you're trying to do on Train is the player range, like I was talking about. You want to keep your distance, you want to have your USPs do the work, and try not to get overwhelmed. Have your rotations in steady. And the keys are going to be to try to get an entry pick or 2 if they go inside. On the outside bomb site, your key is going to be to try to prevent the plant. All right, as best as possible. At least get a couple entries, and try to defend that plant as well as you possibly can. If they do end up planting, you guys are going to have to have your retakes solid. So I'll get into that as well. Okay, so to start off with your positions, what you're going to have pretty standard inside setup with 1 guy at upper. Alright, so this guy's going to be kind of on the ramp here, spotting for that upper, peeking it out. You don't want to fight too much here. Sometimes, the other team's going to buy USPs, try to pick you off for long range, take away that advantage that you have, so you don't really want to get overwhelmed here at the upper or at the lower ramp. So, take a few shots, move in and out, and work with your teammate, get that rotation in if they're taking inner. The other inner player, second inner player, is going to be over here on the lower ramp. He's going to be spotting lower, and then if they come in, they pour down, you're going to kind of move to this area, try to pick the lanes and prevent them from moving up. Alright, so you're going to kind of stay back here and work these 2 lanes here. The upper guy as well, you could kind of move over here, and you could help prevent the plant over here. For the most part, you're going to stay on the ramp. Main thing is, if they do take inner, you should be able to control these lanes pretty well. Maybe get a pick or 2, at least prevent them from moving up and taking too much control of yard. That's your main goal. You could let them get a plant out inner, it's not that big a deal. Once you really want to be aware of when the bomber is going to be on that bomb train. That way, both of you are going to standard by, your nade, your flash, your kit, and you're going to want to coordinate your double nades on that bomb train, even maybe kill the planter, and that's going to really mess the other team up, especially if they're trying to gain control of the yard, if they're trying to set up for after plant, trying to defend that plant, and then you kill the bomber. They're going to have to come back and try to set up that plant again. By that time, you're going to have your outside rotators, you're going to have a man down for them, and you're going to be at a big advantage. You're going to have a really good chance to win the round. So definitely try to coordinate those double nades on that bomb train, upper guy. Pretty simple stuff. Just try to toss it over that little tank, as most teams are going to plant there. If you're controlling the lanes correctly, they're not going to be able to plant anywhere but kind of in this area over here, usually right behind the tank, or right back here. So that's going to be your inside setup. Pretty simple. Make sure you get those 2 nades. Those are going to be key, and try to get those entry picks. Take your time with your shots. Okay, play that range with the USPs. All right, so that's your inside setup. For outside, you're going to have one guy over here at the Z connector, and I don't want this guy to go out too far or get pre-naded. Some teams may try to buy nades, try to get get an entry kill or something like that, run fast outside. So all this guy's kind of doing is spotting early on, and if they get out in the lanes, he'll be able to play that range. So stay really far back over here, and you can maybe swing out and kind of pick the front of alley. If they do take out alley, and this kind of ladder train is being covered, and your middle is being covered, you can kind of swing out and take a few shots at the alley over here, give them a little trouble trying to come the front of bomb in the case that they do go alley. So that's going to be your main role. And this guy right here is typically going to standard buy as well. Really no need for armor or anything like that. You're gonna figure nades are going to be most effective in that spot. So you have 3 down, 2 to go. The other 2 players, one guy is going to go back a bomb train, and you're simply going to spot ladder. You can kind of play under this wheel. This is a pretty decent spot. It's hard to get hit, and if you take your time with your shots, you gotta be careful for the clipping, with your bullets clipping on the train. But if you take your time and like you want to do with your USP, maybe 1-2 shot bursts at really long range, that could be a good spot. My favorite spot is up here on this little hitch. It gives you a decent amount of cover to the body, and it gives you a really long range shot. You could control the box, you could control people coming out ladder, so you're really playing the range and going for headshots. You're trying to do all the damage that you possibly can. Even if the other team buys the USP or Deagle, you're going to be at an advantage at the back of this bomb train, because you could take really easy shots, move around, use a lot of cover. So you're going to be at an advantage. Main thing, you don't really want to fight anybody on top of that ladder train trying to strafe you. Say there's a guy back here. The guy gets out back a bomb, and some teams may try to do this with a USP, and this guy gets kind of over here. You don't really want to fight this guy. You don't really want to go out in the open and try to fight that guy. You're going to stay back and sort of control this lane, alright, for the most part. So you're going to stay here for the whole round. And one thing I want to mention before I go on to the 5th guy is that if you're going to help out this back alley, now that 5th guy is gonna be covering that for you, but you can be mobile and take a few steps and try to help this guy out. If you're gonna do that, try to be aware of how this train is covering you. Alright, so if you kind of try to step out here, make sure you're not too far against this wall. So you're if you play against this wall and you kind of try to step out here, you're going to be open to ladder, you're going to be open to a lot of shots here. Same thing kind of if you're over here and you're really close up, don't recommend that either. So try to make sure this train's covering you kind of from the middle, and you notice if I take a few steps out this way, I'm still covered pretty much from everything over here. So I'm using this train as cover for my side. I'm always trying to be aware to make sure this train's covering me like this. Alright, so this is a good thing to do too. Make sure you're kind of mobile, you're helping your teammate out. In the case they do go alley, they try to take this back alley, which some teams may like to do a lot. A lot of teams like to take fast alley, try to get to this back bomb, get that plant down, and try to overwhelm with the Glocks. It's just a pretty fundamental strat, and effective too. You're going to want to be ready for that and have kind of be able to support and multitask here. Okay, so that's going to be your main deal, and you're also going to be buying nades. You could use the nade off the wall right here. Well, kind of farther than that. Try to nade that alley, something like that, or even use it on the front of bomb. In the case of that planter, you could do a lot of damage to that guy, maybe even get the kill on the bomber, and that's going to be key. So yeah, it's pretty much standard buy for this guy with the nade flash kit. Alright, your 5th player is gonna, in the beginning of the round, is gonna move out, maybe try to pick middle. Some teams try to do little gimmick strats on T side where they'll run out mid and try to go to ladder and to inner and kind of try to fake you out for outside hit. Or maybe even rush middle, try to get a guy out middle so he's controlling this alley lane and letting his teammates get out alley. A lot of teams like to do that too. So what I recommend is for this 5th player to come out to this train yard, to the 6th lane over here, spot early. If there's a couple people there, take a few shots, no more than one clip. You don't really want to spend a lot of time here. Move in and out, use your range. Once you start losing that range, fall back. All right, because you're going to be key. Your main goal is not to die. You know, even if you have a chance to do a little damage, if you're risking too much, you want to definitely fall back. And so what you're going to do, come out here early on. I wouldn't spot down alley. There's really no point to it. You're not really going to help your team out too much by doing that. So spot this lane early on. If there's nothing there, I mean, right away you could kind of fall back. The main thing is going to be that you don't get rushed from alley. Okay, you don't even want to peek down it after, I'd say, 5-6 seconds in the round. If there's nothing there, fall back right away. Otherwise, if a couple people come out middle, maybe strafe, fall back into the 5 lane, and then eventually what you want to do is come over here to these stairs and play over here and watch that back alley. Watch those players from alley trying to come backside, and you also have your teammate right here covering. So this is a pretty standard 2-man outside setup. You do have your player Z, but ideally, you're covering the plant, you're covering the bomb train here, with the pistol, with the long range, and then you're covering your back alley side, so you have both angles to the bomb covered. So this is, this can even be useful on your gun round. If you lose a guy outside, you can drop into what I'm calling a 2-man outside setup, and this is gonna be what you're gonna do on pistol round. So this guy uses stairs a lot, move in and out, move up and down. Don't get overwhelmed over here and have your teammate help you out. You can take a few shots. You have the range. This is going to be really difficult for anybody coming around the corner over here. It's going to be really difficult for them to shoot you. So keep your head down low. Take a few shots. Maybe use a nade. Try to back them off, and try to stay alive as much as possible while still covering your teammate back here. All right. So this should be pretty fundamental, pretty basic, but it's gonna cover all your bases on pistol. Pretty much every strat that the other team could possibly run is gonna have a lot of problems with this setup. You have your strong inner, you have your 2 players inner, you also have a player Z, so that's a really fast rotation to inner, and then you have your good outside setup where you're playing passive, you're playing your range with your USPs. Your opponents aren't going to have head armor as long as you hit your shots. What it's going to come down to, take your time, hit your shots with the USP. You're going to be really successful. So to recap, you have your 2 inner, 2 players inner, your 1 guy upper, your 1 guy lower. Make sure you get those double nades off in the case that they try to get that plant down inner. For your outside setup, you have your player Z connector, kind of spotting a mid rush and whatnot, trying to get that early damage in before they plant. Also kind of trying to cover up that front side of alley. And then you have your other 2 outside players, 1 back a bomb, kind of covering ladder, and then you have your 5th guy backstairs over here too. So the main thing is going to be, the last thing I want to mention to you guys is going to be the outside retake, in which I'd recommend not flanking ladder. Since you're going to be playing far back, it's going to be a long rotation to try to flank. Some teams may be looking for it too. So mainly what you're going to do is try to send 2 or 3 players out of Z connector. If you have any nades, the inside guys didn't waste their nades or flashes, try to toss one out into the yard. Maybe keep a guy in Z spotting for any peeks, being aware, and then the other 2 players can run out and work the yard. What I'd recommend too, if you're retaking and you're doing it quick, alright, so the bomb got planted 5 seconds later, you're retaking, that's pretty much the timing you want to work. What I'd recommend is trying to push up on the ladder, push up on the yard, because your main problem is going to be anybody kind of playing this back ladder train and this ladder room spotting that bomb. So that's, if you can eliminate this right here, you're going to be that much better off, because that gives the other team pretty much nowhere to defend that plant from. So you want to take control of this front yard, use your flashes, play kind of a retake on this front yard, and have your players over here in the back kind of stick together, try to strafe lanes, try to get pick-offs, and work together that way, and you sort of pinch a defense that way, and there's really nowhere for them to play. Okay, so clear the lanes out. Be really thorough with your retakes, and make sure you call out, spots are clear, and Once you do that, you work as a unit, you should be fine on the retake, even if they plant outside, which isn't likely anyhow. Alright, so that's your basic CT trained pistol setup. Really the best setup that you could possibly do, and even if your opponents know that you're doing this, it's going to be better than trying to maybe trying to trick them or trying to fake them out, doing what I call a gimmick strat, maybe any sort of push or something like that. So and it's definitely better than playing standard, playing close up with the USP, because you're going to get run over usually on this map with 3 or 4 Glocks against 1 USP close. You're going to lose that battle. So it's the best CT trained pistol I could give you, and you could use this one over and over and over again because your opponents really can't do a lot about it. Alright, so we're going to go to Nuke now. And for Nuke, I'm going to do kind of the same thing as I did for Train. It's another map where on CT, although you have a little more room to work with, you know, you could maybe do some pushes on ramp or up, or even maybe outside. Your safest bet on Nuke is going to be to play a more passive setup as well. Alright, and play more kind of standard, a little more standard than Train, but still a pretty standard setup. And this is going to be one of those things that you're going to force your opponents to adapt to, and force your opponents to beat you with a gimmick instead of trying to you know, luck out on them. You're going to force them to try to luck out on you, and that's really the name of the game, trying to run the tempo of the game and you know, force your opponents out of their comfort zone. So for Nuke, your setup is going to be 2 players going through outside. Okay, one of these players is going to be over here in the garage. Okay, and he's going to be using his range with USP, spotting any sort of outside hit. The main thing with outside, and you know, and I say this for pistol round, for gun rounds too, it applies very much. So you don't really want to fight outside to the death. Alright, you don't really want to contest this to the point where, you know, you may risk your life doing it, because it's not a bomb site. And this is a really important concept to understand. You have choke points and you have bomb sites. Alright, outside is a choke point, and that means you could give it up without really giving up much, as long as you know how to adapt and you know how to cover it up. You know, so you get an entry pick, you get some entry damage, whatnot, and you fall back, and I'll explain this in a second. As long as you know how to cover it up from that point, you know, and not allow that choke point to really detract from your bomb site defense, you're going to be really successful. So don't treat choke points like bomb sites. You don't have to hold them. You know, it may be optimal to hold them, but if you lose them, know how to adjust, know how to react to that. Alright, same thing with the ramp. Alright, while I'm on topic, ramp is gonna be another choke point, and this once again goes for pistol rounds, eco rounds, gun rounds. This is a choke point. You don't have to hold it to the death. If you're losing it, if you're having trouble holding it, give it up, because it's not a bomb site choke point. Alright, so playing passive lower is a good thing too. I mean, at the very least, if you have to get down to basics, control bomb sites and play bomb sites, okay, and give up choke points if you have to. Alright, so you want to kind of strike that balance. You want to be able to sort of contest choke points, force the other team to fight for them. Maybe, you know, waste some nades, waste some time, get some entry damage, but then after that you want to fall back and you want to utilize that advantage. You don't want to risk giving anything back, and you want to utilize that and then fall back and play your bomb sites. So getting back into your main setup here, you're going to have your outside player. You know, and with your USP you're going to be pretty safe. Again, you have to be careful for any deagles or USPs long range that the other team may buy, or a boost yellow and stuff like that. So kind of be mobile here, play far back. I wouldn't recommend getting over here on this left side. This kind of traps you. So for the most part you want to stay on the right. You know, play over here. You could fall back, you could get a few angles over this box, you know, to the red box over here, and you could fall back to the spawn boxes here and still kind of cover, help cover mini, and still kind of cover outside and continue to play that range. So don't be afraid to fall back once you get a few shots in outside and you see a lot of players coming at you. You know, try to keep your range up, alright, and have your teammates help you out. Alright, so this is going to be the main outside player, which is going to be playing warehouse. So that's one down, second guy. I said would be coming through outside. You want to go through mini, and I wouldn't go all the way in the site in the beginning. What I recommend doing is come in mini and kind of spot this squeaky door. A lot of teams on pistol round may try to execute a rush, and upper is going to be the most common place they're going to go. They may try to go squeaky to lower. They may try to go squeaky door to simply overwhelm the upper site, because you figure most teams are going to go rafters and double nade, which I'm going to have you do. But you know, because of this, most teams are going to try to hit upper through squeaky. So you want to have your USP kind of lined up, and you know, one shot at a time, knock them down. Target practice right here. So be calm, be steady with your pistol. Don't start spamming. You know, take your time with your shots, move in and out, and do all the damage you can. If they do get down vents, I mean, at least you'll have some entry damage in. I'll kind of tell you how to respond to that. For the most part, though, if you get here early, you set up on the squeaky door. You know, maybe peek this window if you want. You know, quick peek this and then sort of cover. As long as you do that, you should be fine. So that's going to be your second outside guy. If there's no rush, you could move into the site. You don't have to. On pistol round, I'm a fan of having this guy play sort of to the mini, because he could fall back. You know, you're going to have to reload your USP. In the case of an upper rush, if you're kind of stuck here, you're going to be able to get a few shots off, and then going to have to reload, and you're going to be kind of stuck. Alright, and probably die, probably get overwhelmed. So even later in the round, I recommend maybe staying mini and being able to move around. You could be a lot more mobile. You could also help out your outside guy, help get that entry damage, and then turtle into the site. So that's going to be your second guy. That's going to be playing mini. So you have two guys outside. You're going to play two guys coming through rafters, okay? So you're going to have a total of 3 upper. Alright, and this is going to be your main stop here. Most teams are going to try to exploit upper bomb site. And on pistol, you know, I was talking about choke points, I was talking about bomb sites. This is a main bomb site you want to defend. You really, really want to hold this bomb site. And the lower site takes a little longer to get to, and I'll explain how that's going to work out for you. So you want to send 2 guys through rafter. The main thing here, and this is going to be really basic, really fundamental, but I want to make sure you have this 100%, because it's going to be important. You know, you're going to want to go up that ladder sideways. It's going to give you more speed. Alright, so you kind of want to, the fastest way to go up this, jump up, alright, and go up sideways, and then you want to kind of pull yourself off the ladder to the left so your second guy can get up. The role of the second guy going up this ladder is to not bump that first guy. You want to make sure that first guy gets off the ladder, alright, because if you do bump him, he's going to jump up in the air and it's going to delay both of you. Okay, so you trying to be quicker, second guy trying to be quicker and bumping this guy up the ladder is going to slow both of you down in the end. So really fundamental things, but the reason I went over that is that upper rush, that half second, even that quarter second, is going to make a big difference at timing. You know, that may be the difference between getting your double nades off or between 2 guys pouring out of the hut and shooting you before you could even, you know, pull your gun out. So really make sure you have those fundamentals down on that ladder going up. And what you're going to do, what's optimal is to do at least 1 pre-nade into the hut, and then what I'd recommend is that first guy up the ladder does that nade, kind of practice doing it on the run, so you get off that ladder right away, get that nade off, kind of try to bank it how I did, make sure it lands in the hut. This is going to serve to not only do damage, but if you bounce that nade right into the doorway, this is gonna, you know, this guy's gonna have to step over it. He's gonna be delayed that way. So this is gonna help stop that rush as well. So you could do 1. You know, you could do 2 as well if you really anticipate an up rush, but 1's fine. All right, and then after that, you're going to be running across this rafter. It's the best thing to do. All right, is to run across sideways and maybe try to set up on that squeaky. In the case of a squeaky rush that way, you have 2 players here. You have your rafter guy. This guy can serve to help out as well. So you'll have a pretty good defense after that. After you deal with that hut rush, this guy's come to help out squeaky, which is kind of the secondary rush point. All right, so the second guy up the ladder, pretty much all you want to do is get up here, and you're gonna stay here. I'd recommend that you stay under this ladder. if there's no rush, you know, you could move into the site, and it kind of depends what happens afterwards, and you know, with the ramp and whatnot. So for the beginning, to keep it simple for now, I'm gonna have the second rafter guy, the second guy up the rafters, stay in here. All right, so that's what you're doing, and I'll explain how you're gonna adapt mid-round in a second. So you have your two outside guys, you have your warehouse guy, you have your mini guy, you have your two guys going up rafter, and now you're gonna have your fifth guy playing ramp. Now this guy is gonna do one of two things. The thing I recommend you do is play in this turnpike, try to get entry damage, you know, try to get maybe a shot or two off. You know, if your crosshair placement's correct, you'll be able to two-shot that guy and get that entry kill, you know, with no head armor on the pistol. So you're going to be able to get that entry and then fall back. Alright, and that's ideally what you want to do. Even if you don't get that kill, you're going to want to fall back. Alright, and you're going to want to play more passive. Now you figure, alright, you're spotting, you're getting the entry, now you're going passive, you're going to be giving up this choke point, so you're going to have somebody go play lower. And that's what I'm going to explain in a second with upper. Before I do that, the second thing that this guy could do is come over here to this ramp and kind of spot from here. The thing is, if you do have I would only do this on a good spawn. If you do have a good spawn, this is optional. If you have a bad spawn, I wouldn't even try it, because you may get beat here and not be able to fall back. So if you do get to this ramp and try to spot in the ramp room, look for the rush. If there is a rush that comes at you, I'd recommend nading kind of like that. You know, make sure you know where that nade's coming from, where that nade's gonna go. So get that nade right in front of them, and then fall down. Alright, fall down and run all the way away. You don't want to linger here. You don't want to take any risks of, you know, 3 Glocks coming at you. If they do come down quick and they try to rush you, they try to plow you, like I'd say to do, if I spotted a guy down here and I'm calling strats, I'm going to say go for him and run after this guy. Try to run him down, because he's not going to be able to fall back. Alright, so really what you want to do after you go from that ramp, fall back as much as possible and play this back haul. Alright, you could kind of break the windows and snipe out of here, kind of snipe with your USP, and try to control this back haul as much as possible. You know, this is going to be key on pistol rounds and gun rounds, controlling this back haul. But if you're you know, if you're giving up that ramp choke point to control this lower site, you're gonna have to control the back haul. You know, this whole area right here, you know, that barrel door, this control side, you're gonna have to control this as best as possible. Okay, and this is gonna prevent any sort of plant. As long as you have a guy alive over here, he's gonna prevent any sort of plant that's gonna happen lower. Alright, so one of two things you can do on ramp. And getting back to what I was saying before, if you are going to play here, and this is what I recommend, if this ramp player is going to play over in this turnpike, then if he does spot ramp and he does give it up, you know, there's players ramp, they may get lower, then one of your upper guys is going to have to rotate down. And I'd recommend that be either the first rafter player or the mini player. It doesn't really matter, whichever one you pick is fine. So you can do that and simply get down vent, try to maybe spot. Once you do get a spot down here, you know, this is a good range to pick from. Anybody coming downstairs, be mobile. Once you get a spot in and you see him coming to the lower side trying to take that control side, what you may want to do is fall back over here. On pistol, I wouldn't recommend going to this control side. It's going to be kind of hard to play with a USP. You can, but more often you're going to go over to this barrel side. So be sure if your player spots a ramp and he falls back under tower, you have to have at least one of your upper guys rotate down into lower. Alright, and you could stay in the vent until there's an actual lower hit. Alright, or until the other team tries to start taking control of back hauls. So use your range, take time with your shots. That's all it's going to be. If you don't hit your shots, no strats going to work for you. You got to be able to utilize that range. All right, so that's going to be the role of of one of your upper players in that case. Okay, so pretty simple CT pistol on nuke. the main thing is going to be, like I said, you know, get your rotations down. You want to, this is a map where you have to have players sort of in two places at one time, or even better, you know, in the right place at the right time. You know, this guy may be playing mini, maybe he's needed lower, so maybe he needs to rotate down lower. Or say, you know, the rafter guy, you know, maybe he's covering hut, but he could take a second, kind of help outside really quick, you know. So this is going to be a map of really quick rotations and really knowing where you have to be when you have to be there. Alright, so to recap, you have your two players outside, you have your warehouse guy over here. Alright, and he's not floating, he's not flying. So you're going to have your outside guy there. You're going to have your mini guy, and he's going to be responsible for that squeaky door early on and helping your outside player. You have your two guys through rafter. Remember that idea with the ladder. Go up sideways, get up quick, get that pre-nade in. Alright, first guy goes in and comes over to the left here. So you have your two outside, your two rafter, and then you have your fifth ramp guy over here. Alright, so that's to conclude. If you're, kind of last thing I want to say, I forgot to say this, if your fifth ramp guy does fall back under heaven, you know, if he's spotting that turnpike, falls back under tower, your tower guy is going to be most effective trying to get into the site. Alright, and try to strafe opposite rafter, maybe even drop down yellow. I'd recommend he stays up here though. So that's going to be kind of the last thing for that secondary rafter guy I forgot to explain. Alright, so that concludes our CT pistols on Train and Nuke. I hope they help you out a lot. You know, you have one for each map, you know, kind of not a lot of room to work with, but these fundamental strats, you know, these really thought out strats should serve you well on CT. If the other team's gonna start putting you out of your comfort zone, you're gonna have to know how to adapt, how to adjust. You don't really want to throw the setup away, because this is gonna be the #1 setup that you can do on each map. On Train, that setup I went over, and on Nuke, alright, for the pistols. So I hope these help you out. Hope this helped clarify CT pistols. I know I got a couple questions for them, so here it is, and I'll be bringing you 2 new maps next time. Alright, so any feedback, any comments, anything you'd like to see in the future, you know, any ideas you may have, definitely post that. We love feedback, so let us know. Alright, and I'll see you guys next time.